Hello, class. Welcome back. We are talking about the Richard Nixon still and the Watergate scandal. This is what everybody remembers Richard Nixon for, the Watergate scandal. What was the Watergate scandal? Well, it was where some of Richard Nixon's employees broke into the Democratic offices at the Watergate building and they stole some classified secret information. And didn't just break in once, they broke in twice. The second time when they got caught. And Richard Nixon denied all involvement in it. And he got away with it at first and was able to get reelected as president. And then the ball dropped and these secret tapes came out that he did have knowledge of it. So, and he had to resign from presidency because of that, and that was the first time in the history of the United States that a president had resigned. That's what we're talking about today, the Watergate scandal. It was one of the worst political scandals in the history of the United States. 5 men were arrested for breaking into the Democratic Party offices on June 17th, 1972.
Political scandal. The Watergate scandal was one of the worst political scandals in the history of the United States. The scandal began when 5 men were arrested for breaking into the Democratic Party offices on June 17th, 1972.
All right. So where does Watergate come from? Where does the name Watergate come from? Well, it's referring to the Watergate. If you hear the word Watergate, they're usually referring to the Watergate scandal. But the name came from a complex of buildings in Washington, D.C. called the Watergate Complex. And in these buildings is the headquarters of the Democratic Party was located in the Watergate offices. So that's where the name comes from. Democratic Parties, the headquarters of that is located in those buildings. There's the Watergate buildings there.
Where did the name Watergate come from? When someone says Watergate, they're usually referring to the Watergate scandal. The name came from a complex of buildings in Washington, D.C. called the Watergate Complex. The headquarters of the Democratic Party was located in the Watergate offices.
All right. The break-in, several men who were they wanted to get President Richard Nixon, they wanted to get him reelected. All right. They decided they wanted to spy on the Democratic Party. So they came up with a plan to break into Democratic Party offices in the Watergate building. And they did this on May the 11th, 1972. They broke into offices. They took photographs of secret documents. They placed wiretaps on the phone. They wanted to hear what was going on and know what was going on with the Democratic Party. So, and they got away with it at first. But when they tried to break in again just a month later on June 17th, this time they were caught and they were arrested.
The break-in. Several men who were trying to get President Richard Nixon reelected as president decided they wanted to spy on the Democratic Party. They hatched a plan to break into the Democratic Party offices in the Watergate building. On May 11th, 1972, they broke into the offices, took photographs of secret documents, and placed wiretaps on the phone. At first, they got away with it. However, they tried to break in again on June 17th, 1972. This time, they were caught and arrested.
So when they got caught, Richard Nixon and his staff, they wanted to cover up the break-in. All right. They wanted desperately to cover it up. So Richard Nixon, this guy right here, he denied any knowledge of the activity. He said his staff was not involved in it. My staff isn't involved. I'm not involved in this. And he managed to keep his name out of this scandal, the Watergate scandal, through the election. And he got reelected the president in 1972.
Cover-up. President Nixon and his staff tried desperately to cover up the break-in. Nixon denied any knowledge of the activities and said his staff was not involved. He managed to keep his name out of the scandal through the election and was re-elected president in November of 1972.
All right. Yeah, these two guys here, Woodward and Bernstein, or Bernstein or Bernstein. All right. They were 2 reporters for the Washington Post. They were investigating the burglary, the break-in into the Watergate offices. And they had an anonymous source tell them, an anonymous source was named Deep Throat, who told them that the president was involved. All right. And it turned out several members of the White House knew about the break-in. Several members of it did. And President Nixon had been involved in the cover up as well. And he provided hush money, which meant he gave them money. Hey, y'all be quiet. And I'll give you money. I'll give you money and make sure y'all don't talk about it. Don't say I'm involved in it. So he gave them money to the burglars to keep them quiet. And he also used the CIA and the FBI to try to stop the FBI from investigating the case. So, but these guys here, two guys, these are the ones that discovered, hey, he is lying about this. Woodward and Bernstein.
Woodward and Bernstein, two reporters for the Washington Post newspaper, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, were investigating the burglary. They had an anonymous source they nicknamed Deep Throat, who told them that the president was involved. It turned out that several members of the White House staff knew about the break-in. President Nixon had been involved in the cover-up as well. He had provided hush money to the burglars to keep them quiet. He had also used the CIA to try and stop the FBI from investigating the case.
All right, so there was a lot of suspicion that President Nixon was involved, but there wasn't really any evidence at the time. Congress needed hard evidence to impeach him, to get him to kick him out of office, in other words. And investigators soon discovered Nixon kept tapes of all his conversations he had in the Oval Office. So investigators asked for the tapes. Nixon said, "No, y'all can't have my tapes." So the Supreme Court got involved and they said, "You know what, Nixon, Mr. Nixon, President Nixon, you're going to turn these tapes over to them." And they did. And these tapes were the smoking gun because they clearly showed Nixon had knowledge and had been involved in the cover-up of the break-in.
The tapes. Despite the mounting suspicion that President Nixon was involved, there wasn't any real proof. The Congress needed hard evidence in order to impeach the president. Investigators soon discovered that Nixon kept tapes of all his conversations in the Oval Office. Investigators asked for the tapes. When Nixon refused, the Supreme Court got involved and ordered him to turn the tapes over. The tapes were the smoking gun. They clearly showed that Nixon had at least been involved in the cover-up.
All right, so with the release of these tapes, what was called the smoking gun tapes, Nixon's political career was over. All right, they were going to have this big long trial and everything. And Nixon said, "No, I'm not going to be impeached. You're not going to have a trial. I'm just going to resign." And that's what he did. When I say resign, I mean he quit. He quit being the president. On August 9th, 1974, President Richard Nixon became the first president of the United States to resign from office. He was succeeded by Vice President Gerald Ford, this man right here.
Nixon resigns. With the release of the smoking gun tapes, Nixon's political career was over. Congress was going to impeach him. Rather than be impeached, Nixon chose to resign. On August 9th, 1974, Richard Nixon became the first president of the United States to resign from office. He was succeeded by Vice President Gerald Ford.
All right, so you had all these criminal charges, all these things people done wrong. Was there anybody that went to jail? Yes, there was. President Nixon didn't face any criminal charges because he was pardoned by President Ford, the incoming president. He pardoned him. However, there were many others that were involved in this, and they did get prosecuted. A total of 48 government officials were found guilty of crimes, and many of them served jail time.
Did anyone go to jail? President Nixon did not face criminal charges because he was pardoned by incoming President Ford. However, many of the other men involved were prosecuted. A total of 48 government officials were found guilty of crimes. Many of them served time in jail.
All right, we got our comprehension questions here. Where does the name Watergate come from? A waterfall, B, the office buildings of the Democratic Party, or C, water? It is B, the office buildings. The name of the office buildings were the Watergate complex.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number two, what United States president resigned as a result of the scandal? Which one have we been talking about? A, Richard Nixon, B, Abe Lincoln, or C, JFK? It was A, Richard Nixon. He's the only president to have resigned in the history of the United States.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Number three, what evidence ended up being the smoking gun that provided or that proved the president was involved? Was A, CDs, B, flash drives, or C, the presidential tapes that he kept of his conversations in the Oval Office? It was C, the presidential tapes.
we have a winner.
Number 4, who became president after Richard Nixon? It was Richard Nixon's vice president. Who was that? Was it Abe Lincoln, Gerald Ford, or JFK? It was Gerald Ford. He became, and then he pardoned Richard Nixon after he became president. So Richard Nixon did not see any kind of jail time for it.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
And the last one, whose offices were broken into to cause the scandal? A, the Democratic Party. It didn't happen. Or C, the Republican Party. It was A, the Democratic Party's offices.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
They wanted to try to get Richard Nixon reelected, and so they were snooping around. All right. That is all for the Watergate scandal. I will see you back next time. We'll be talking about, I'm not sure which one we've got up next. I'll have to look and see. We're talking about the Iran hostage crisis soon, but I think we're talking about 3 Mile Island next. So I will see you all next time. You all have a very good day.